welcome everybody to GameGuru MAX live broadcast number 68. And I have some AI to show you this week. Now, I must admit, right out the gate, but before I say that, I want to say this twice. So I'm going to check, see if everybody can hear me and my voice is coming through. I've been playing with my microphone again, so I apologise in advance. So I'm looking at the live chat on my second screen. Matthew says, we can hear you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Brevin, as well. Great, wonderful. Let's continue. All I was really going to say for this week's broadcast is that I wouldn't say the wires are hanging out, but we are still very much working on it. What I want to show you, I'll launch the software just to give you an idea what you're going to get this Friday if you're lucky enough to be a pre-order user. Look at the changelog. There's some to-dos which are on our list, but you can see where we are as of right now. This is live. This is the inner circle where you get to see what's going on for real. So you can see we've got terrain painting coming this Friday. We have new character creator zombie parts, some really nice new zombies for you to play with. And this is the one that I've been personally working on, which is the first pass of the soldier logic with included squad flanking, which is that's a fancy way of saying that characters can work together to try and kill the player. And of course some other bits and bobs, improvements, new sound effects, updating the characters, things like that. And this, you'll get to see this, or a form of this perhaps, on Friday, but I'll talk about this in more detail once we're a little bit further along. But you will be greeted with this. Most people will be greeted with this when you first start the software. And of course, have I introduced this yet? No? Okay. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but yeah, it's actually coming along pretty fast now as we are imminently heading towards the end of November when we release it as an early access title. So what do I want to show you? Well, I want to show you the soldier. So I create lots of little test maps for my soldiers. This is the latest one I've been playing with. And what I want to show you is I've just dropped down 3 characters. I've configured them a little bit. But if I select shooter games, filter, you'll actually see I've linked them up. All that really means is these 3 are now associated, and I'm going to call them a squad. And I've implemented an early version of squad flanking, which basically says, you'll also notice we've got a nice little silhouette of this is the player now, just to make it quite clear this is the player. We can change player settings and where the player starts in this level. And so the idea, of course, is that they're now going to work together to kill the player instead of acting as independent free-for-allers. Now, it is my experience that when I press test game, all of the gunfire and noises happen which override what I'm saying. So this is going to be the first ever broadcast where I'm going to ask for a second sound test, and I'm going to be keeping my eye on the live chat, and if you can't hear me over all the gunfire, let me know. I think I've got a slider that I've been playing around with that I can actually reduce that effect. So I'm just going to run the software and let's let them start shooting at me. I've set up a range so they're immediately aware of me, like so. Notice they've now got sidestepping. So can everybody hear me okay? Over the gunfire. I just switch over to this and dial that one down. Now I've got an audio contribution. So shouldn't really be louder than my voice. But I am going to check out the live chat just to make sure that you know, we're okay for me talking about all the different AIs that are going on. Still looking for someone to say yes, blah, 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 blah. It's always the case with live broadcasts. Oh, great, wonderful. You can hear me over that pretty well. Awesome. Then I can carry on talking. It would be a shame if you just couldn't hear me all the way through this part. And obviously this demonstrates this is live. This is live, unrehearsed broadcast of our development progress. So let's get back to here. So as you can see, they'll sidestep, but they won't sidestep through a sandbag. So as you can see, they're doing their utmost to corner me. They'll sidestep when they're close. They'll flank when they're further away. So this guy's coming this way. And you see how he's sort of flanking me like that? So whilst I'm being engaged with what I'm calling the captain, this guy's now coming round to the side potentially even to the back of me, and making sure that I have multiple points of contact. Very difficult to kill them like this. Another thing I can show you is if I get really close, they got melee, so he just elbowed me, now he's going for cover. You've also got the idea that when you shoot them, they'll actually sidestep, so you can't shoot in the same position again. You've got to swing over and shoot them like so. And of course, they're pretty capable of following me wherever I may go. So we've got soldiers now that will flank. You see he's flanking around the outside. The captain tends to charge more towards the centre. But they have no reason to flank or charge towards me if they've got a good firing position. So they're basically going to stay there. So now they're basically flanking around the side. You see he's just managed to pop through a window to get at me. What I am going to do is actually, see he's actually going to come in now and just to get a bit of engagement. And you'll be not surprised if eventually they come round the back and start shooting me through this window. And so basically that's the idea of, just to make sure we're not being too distracted with my narration, that's the idea of squads. They'll actually work together. Now I'm going to do a little bit more work on the AI to make sure that they can handle buildings better. For example, let's say I am in here. There isn't really a point for the enemy to flank outside. Yes, you can sort of poke through a window, but what I really want them to do is to sort of storm the castle. So whether you're inside, then maybe there's some extra directive which says, yes, flank, you know, one comes through this door, one comes through this door, you know, but maybe synchronize it, or certainly give them the instructions that they're now going to go inside a building rather than sort of outside flanking maneuvers. So that's something I'm going to be working on. But I'm pretty happy with all the other things now. They can move, they can flank, they can melee, they can sidestep. They're clever when they sidestep as well. And generally you put 2 and 3 enemies in a level together and they're quite aggressive. You link them up as a squad, they'll actually work together to make sure they're not presenting a single target, they're presenting a variety of targets for the player. The only thing that's not in there, currently it was basically coincidental because they all actually got range alerted at the same time, is synchronization. So maybe they only start an attack once they're all in position. That would be pretty cool, but I'm thinking that's a bit more sophisticated than what most games even do today. And another thing as well, let's say these two over here are out of range, but this one is sort of the first to be in range of the player. When they're a squad, they'll actually alert all of their squad mates. So he gets alerted, he immediately tells him, because he's got a relationship with this character alerts this character because there's a relationship there, and then they do what you saw before. They set up positions, and probably from that distance and place standing there, it could be this character actually runs all the way around the building, or he runs through this little gap here. So you get the idea. And it's a dynamic battlefield, so this is happening all the time. This logic is always reprocessing based on where the player is, where the enemies are, what the obstacles are like. So that's basically what we're going to deliver on Friday. There's some other things. I just want to quickly show you what those are. Remember last time, I think the time before, we showed you terrain sculpting. We now have terrain painting. So I can set a brush size, I can pick maybe a sandy thing, so I can paint now with this, change this. The UI isn't final, as you can imagine, so I just paint a lot of red brick, dust down, because I don't like the idea that we've got almost 32 materials on display. So basically it'll be a 4x4 grid here. It'll then free up the bottom of this real estate for looking at your keyboard shortcuts. For example, we don't need the sculpt speed, not with the brush, things like that. And maybe some icon changes as well. But yeah, the functionality for terrain painting is now in, and behind the scenes we're now working on the tree editing. Obviously, as you may know, or may not know, that we can have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of trees in our world now. But what you'll be able to do very shortly is to edit these trees, clear tree areas, add different trees, move trees around, things like that. So in case you didn't know, you no longer have to worry about adding individual trees. We've taken taken care of trees for you based on the biome that you select. So yeah, that's basically what I'd like to show you today. As you saw in the changelog, a few more little things we'll be adding for the Friday build. So hopefully you can look forward to that and have a bit of a play. And just as sort of an aside, all of the logic for the zombie is now complete. So when you load up the seller demo and play that, you'll actually have zombies that are pretty smart. They'll creep towards you and try and eat your brains. And you may have noticed in the changelog we've got more zombie parts. We've been waiting quite a while for this because now we can have different zombies in the seller demo. So expect different zombies as well. So I'm looking forward to presenting that. Maybe making a few more improvements to the seller demo. It's really great when you get to the point where you can actually start making the gameplay instead of the back-end functionality for the games engine. So I'll be having a little fun before Friday in the seller demo, because then that's the furthest along in terms of the demos we've got. So let's go to chat. I didn't mention this in the intro, but if you are in the live chat and you want to ask me a question, please do so. Just stick a question mark at the end. But as I didn't mention that, I will be extra scrutinous, make sure I don't miss any questions from the top. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have today. Just checking the clock. We're doing all right. We're 11 minutes in, so I've got 4 minutes for official questions. And then it's to our discretion how much time we allow Lee to waffle before I close up this broadcast. So if you've got any questions, great time to ask them now. The ones I don't get to within my allotted vocal time, I will be posting in the GameGuru forums later on, along with a recording of this broadcast. So let's see who's got Lee's first question. Loud and clear, blah, 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 blah. Here's the first one from Super Confident Man. Got his question in early this time. Allied characters going to be at Steam release? Yes, they absolutely are going to be at Steam release. In fact, I'm just going to switch back here. How do I have such confidence about that? Because I've already got them. So you drop in a character like so, and you go to this one, Shooter Games Filter. Look at the first thing you see, character logic allegiance. You can set enemy, you can set ally, and you can set neutral, which is basically neutral NPC that doesn't get involved. Enemies are kind of what you always see now, but allies, the target switches. So now the target for anyone who's an ally is the player's enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So hopefully you get to play with that as well in Friday's build. It all works. There's a few little things I'd like to tweak and finesse, but generally yes. The behaviour that the enemy has towards the player, my ally will have towards the enemy. It's a also pretty great way to test the AI out too. So yes, we will have ally characters on Steam release. And again, I don't want to digress too much, but you see this at the bottom of the buttons where you got flag, where you can put like waypoints and things. These 4 buttons also will work in Friday's build. So click this to have a choice of weapons. Click this for a choice of ammo. Click that for all of the enemies you can drop in. But this last one here, click this. It shows you all the pre-configured characters that will instantly be your ally. So just select that button, choose an ally character, drop it in, him or her in, and then they will assist you as you go through fighting through the level. So we've already got that in. Long answer to the first question, but hopefully that answers it pretty comprehensively. Just saw a question mark from J Birdmax. Be careful, keep playing with your microphone and you go blind. That's rude. Okay, here's a question from Andy Goldow. Storyboard question. Will there also be a menu items option or settings in the game menu to change the graphic settings, sound, etc? Yes. We've done everything else, but when we actually did our standalone executables, we noticed, oh, wait a minute, you can't configure the in-game menu. So we've added that to the list, and yes, you'll be able to configure basically every screen. When you have a great game, you want to be able to make sure that no one knows it was written in GameGuru MAX. So you can change literally every screen and every graphic. Although there will be a splash screen, but I'll discuss that later on when we have a full deep dive into the game storyboard system. Who's got the next question? Okay, great. And it's great that you heard me over the noise, but we're gonna look at that and see if there's a better setup where we can actually have even less sound when I'm talking. I'm sure there's some clever gadgets out there that'll do that. Okay, your stream is record equals question marks. Yes, it is record. Mickey Martin, are you going to be able to pre-order, and if so, when and how much? We have closed pre-orders whilst we charge towards the early access release date, so you don't have to wait too long now. Just wait till the end of November and then they'll be able to get the early access product along with everybody else. And it'll cost $49.99. That's its current retail price for anyone who isn't lucky enough to already have pre-ordered many, many moons ago. Here's a question from Matthew Clark. Will we be able to customize the field of view? FOV, field of view, yeah. Yeah, there is an option for camera settings, so you can change the FOV. So you can have it more like a Half-Life sort of perspective, or you can have it more drilled in, so it's a little more suspensey. But yes, you have control over that in the settings. Bouncier Sky 152, will there be an option to turn on and off colorblind colours? We don't have colorblind colours in the software, so there's no ability to turn it off. We can assume that it's always switched off, as this feature does not exist. So if you want to elaborate, maybe put it in the GameGuru forums later, because I do read all the questions in that thread after a couple of days, and try and get them to answer all of them as well as the original ones. Question from, not a question from, another one from Super Confident Man. How much can we customize the AI of individual characters using visual logic? We've made it into like two parts. So the first part is completely visual. So you can just drop in a character, connect it to something else, and then set what that relationship is, what happens when those two objects interact or don't interact or whatever. And you can then click on a character and set up the character in different ways, like, you know, how fast they move and the range and what weapons they carry. All that kind of stuff is super straightforward, simple, visual. But then there's the second stage we're going to hide in the developer tools mode, which lets you have access to the script, but not script as in coding. It's a visual scripting system. Effectively, it's like a flow chart, and you get to control conditions and actions and set values, and then you can actually run your test level and watch as the flow chart is highlighted as all that logic is executed all the way through. So you get as little or as much control as you want, but in GameGuru MAX you never really have to code, you never really have to create your own models. That's basically the direction we're going for. So yeah, you'll have a lot of control. In fact, if you drop in the animals, we've got fish and mammals and stuff. If you drop, let's say, a fox into the scene, it actually has a behavior that actually was written using our visual behavior editor. And you should be able to go into the test level, go into the behavior editor, select that fox, and see a very simple script that fox runs in order to detect the player and then run away from the player. So it's a very simple script and a great script just to get started to understand what I'm talking about when I say visual scripting. So let's see who's got the next question. Here it is from J Birdman. Does the visual logic work with non-PC enemies such as lifts and doors? Works with everything. You know, you can connect a zone to a light or to a switch or to a character. Any object that's dynamic in the game, you can connect them up. And there will be some implied interaction between those two kinds of objects. If you don't want to know what I'm talking about, just look at what we put in the previous builds, such as switches and lights and doors and keys. That should give you a good start. But sure, any animated object could be dropped in, and then you can sort of go into the behavior editor and set up some logic for that object, and maybe animate the object, etc. Do anything you want within that's the scope of that functionality. I was going to say you can do anything you want. That's not true. There'll be things that you can't do, but we've kept it all pretty high level. So most of the things that you want to do, you'll be able to do, but certainly not 100% of the weird and wacky ideas you might have. Okay. Looking for this question just underneath from Bouncier Sky. Can you adjust the accuracy level of the AI? That's actually done through the gun at the moment. So let's say you've got a pistol, and that pistol has a natural accuracy value assigned to it. So the way you do that, just drop in the pistol weapon into the level, click on the object like you would any other object, go into its properties, and you'll see all the values for you can adjust, you know, the range of the weapon, the drop off, all the different aspects that you want to change of that weapon. Again, post in the GameGuru forums later on if you feel like, well, we don't really want to do it that way around. I want to set one enemy to be really bad at shooting things, another enemy to be really good at shooting things. Currently, you have to do that through the weapons that you add into the game. So just checking out the clock. I totally gobbled through the official time and then added 5 minutes of my own gobbledygook time. So, as is my custom, I'll pick 2 questions from people who've not asked a question before, and I promise the rest will be answered in the GameGuru forums later on. So let's see, we're lucky enough to sneak in with these 2 questions. This is from SS. Are you planning something like screen space orbital illumination? Sorry, global illumination. No, I think there's a little bit of that in the Wicked engine. We may have exposed 1 or 2 pieces of it. But no, anything that we currently have in the Friday builds, that's pretty much going to be it for the current set of visual effects that we're going to provide. Certainly in the future, we're going to expose more of what the Wicked engine can do. And if that includes screen space global illumination, then we'll be playing with that. But we're always going to respect the minimum spec of the product. We're not going to throw in features that you can only run if you're on an ultra graphics card. We do want to kind of play to the strength that the most people that use the software will want to enjoy most of the features. So there's no point us spending nearly all of our time on a feature that no one's going to be able to use. But yeah, I think screen space global illumination is certainly picking up with faster graphics cards. They're pretty cool, which will make sure that we get the balance right. And the last question is from Rage Quitter. Question: is there a limit to how many AI we can link up together? At the moment, I've limited the relationship lines to 10. So any one character can connect to 10 other characters or 10 other things. When it got bigger than that, there was a lot of lines in the level and it got a little bit confusing, and then you might just get like the spaghetti code version of visual logic connections. So we'll keep it to 10. If there's many use case scenarios where we think, oh, we need more, then we'll probably find some other alternative than the lines, so we can still keep the UI clean. But I think it's certainly plenty for everything I've needed to do when I've been doing levels and things. So that's the current limit. But sort of another answer to that, which would be a different interpretation of the question, is you can drop down lots of characters and lots of different things. It's just that any one object or character can only have 10 relationships to 10 other things in the level. Like I said, I think that's pretty plenty for now. So I've seen lots more questions down there. I'm looking forward to answering them later on. Once I've got this recording uploaded to YouTube, I immediately go in and start answering your questions. So you have literally 30 more seconds to ask that question, and it will get answered right away today, in fact. It may be less than 30 seconds. I'm just trying to stretch it out to give you half a chance. But that's pretty much it for this week. Next week, we've got a lot more to show. We're getting very close to the early access release now. So it's all coming thick and fast, and all the extra things taking its proper place. As you saw a little glimpse of the storyboard system, be able to save your standalones out and share the games that you've made. All of this is coming online very quickly now. But I'm going to reveal all of that in the broadcasts that remain for us in November. Of course, the plan is to continue boring you with my sultry tones beyond November, just to show you this development does not stop at the end of November, it carries on. Just wanted to let you know that we are going to be keeping up with the internal development reveals all the way through November and all the way to release. So again, I will be talking to you all next Wednesday, 4 PM GMT. This time we've officially left summertime, we're now in GMT. I hope you've enjoyed this little reveal of what's going on under the hood of GameGuru MAX, and I look forward to speaking to you all next week. Goodbye.